Hey dudes, quick video coming at you right now. Lord Sturm here with our second Roundtable Theories deck tech. What we're going to check out today is we're working on Paladin builds, and I wanted to come up with something that was a little different than what I imagined a lot of my cohorts would be going for. I thought they'd be going for some mid-range, dragon-based tech, and I decided, mid-range Paladin has been around basically since GVG, and it's been fantastic, so why mess with what's broken? Don't mess with what's broken. So I decided to take a little bit of a look back at the aggro Paladin, which we haven't seen too much of lately. It has been in and out of the meta at a very strange rate. And so I don't think we've had a really good look at it in a long time. I think Raynad was playing it on his stream just recently, so I thought I'd take a stab at it. The goals of this deck, and you're going to look at this curve and you're just going to kind of laugh. Like, what is this curve? It's not... There's, like, no bombs, of course, and it's just so focused on this early game. And what you do is you actually play board control. You play board control probably up until about turn 5 or 6, and that's when you start to have... What'll happen is you'll have a ridiculous board, or you'll be able to swing for face, or you'll get your board clears, and then you'll have to reload on the board, and you can then go for the face. So that's the kind of the goal of the deck, is just survive a board clear, like kind of bait a board clear, survive it, move on, and then finish off your opponent with just superior card draw and minion advantage. So taking a look at how do we accomplish this, the core cards are going to be just your low drops. You've got Ardent Squire and Abusive Sergeant that are just going to buff things and just stick around. That's Ardent Squire's job. Haunted Creeper sticks around. Iron Beguile is going to be your way through taunts. Knife Juggler is a staple in Paladin. Just the synergy makes so much sense with your hero power. It makes so much sense with Battle Mustard for battle. Shielded Minibot is the GVG card that is going to be doing a ton of work in this matchup. You have two ways to get Divine Shields, so that makes sense to throw in a Blood Knight, as you can make a quick 6/6 if you coin it out, or you can be even greedier, play for a 9/9. You'll probably play for the 6/6 in this BGH-centric meta, though, and that can still be a huge tempo swing. We're running a bunch of the buffs. We're running Blessing of Might. We're running Blessing of Kings, and those are really just good ways to trade up or to push for extra damage. We're running True Silver Champion, of course. One of Consecration and one of Equality. I don't want to bog down the deck with that combo. It's kind of... It can take up a lot of space in the deck, and you can see how streamlined this curve is already. One thing that might be worth reconsidering is the Mad Scientist engine, because we're only running one Avenge and two Noble Sacrifices, and we might just make that two Avenges, or two Avenge, one Noble Sacrifice, which is something else altogether, because these secrets, they feel like they've been kind of underwhelming for me. And when the Paladin secrets end up in your hand, that is the time where this deck most runs out of steam. So if we're thinking about changing how the deck works, I think the secret engine might be something to look at. Defender of Argus is just very strong in this deck. I would actually consider putting in the second one. That's how you win board control, is you have a bunch of small minions, and then you just can use Argus to just create an outstanding board position. Nerubian Egg is AoE Insurance. I'm running a lot of one-ofs in this deck right now, and that could be another thing that we can look at as we want to make things a little smoother play-wise. The only legendary I'm running right now is the legendary I just recently repulled after dusting his butt about a year ago, is Tankmaster Overnerf. And you might be asking, why the hell are you running that card? And I would say, yes, I'm a little bit insane, but with the introduction of Muster for Battle, it creates a pretty good odds that you're going to target one of your own minions. And in that scenario, if you target a 1/1 and you get a 1/1, that's okay. But if you target 1/1 and get a 5/5 on turn 3, you are just so ludicrously ahead that it can snowball a game out of control. And that's what this deck wants to do, is it wants to create these board states that can just snowball. And the curious thing is I'm not actually running any Quartermasters. You might ask yourself why, and I'm mostly looking at this curve here. You can't really afford to run a 2/5 for 5, especially if you draw it after your board gets cleared or something like that. And you're not really looking for an 8-mana power play of Muster for Battle Quartermaster. So I'm just thinking of really condensing this deck and just making it as lean as possible. And it's been doing pretty well at these ranks from 5 to about 3 where I've been hanging out lately. And then obviously the one thing I haven't really touched upon is this Divine Favor. That is going to be your primary draw engine. Is you're going to throw down all the cards in your hand, and that's why the curve is so cheap. You throw all the cards out in your hand, you Divine Favor, and you draw about 4 or 5 cards in a pretty good circumstance. On average, you'll get 3, which is alright. It's still better than Arcane Intellect. If it just ends up being Arcane Intellect, you're okay, as long as you're far enough ahead. But in cases where you're behind, you're going to want a massive draw here. And Divine Favor can give you that position. I also have the Loot Hoarder in here because sometimes I feel like if you miss a Divine Favor, you just need a little bit extra help. And Loot Hoarder can just take up that spot on the board, and he can aid you as you try to find your way to those Divine Favor draws. So that's the deck I've got right now. As far as matchups go, let's see how does it do. It does really well against Hunters. It actually has a stronger board presence than most Hunter decks, especially the face variant ones and the hybrid ones until Savannah Highmane comes out, at which point you should have enough of a lead to just ignore Highmane and finish the game. Shaman is about 50-50. They've been cutting Lightning Storm lately, which is to your advantage, but they still have a lot of ways to just clear out your minions. And if they curve into Fire Elemental and that gives them the board control, then you're pretty much up a creek. Oil Rogue is probably your worst matchup. It effectively deals with 1/1s with just a hero power. All the AoEs in that deck are just ridiculous. They're just going to take you out. Druid you can beat. It's very 50-50. If you bait out swipes or if they don't draw swipes and then you load up on the board, you can put yourself in a fantastic position against Druid. Priest is a tough matchup. You can, again, if you find yourself behind on board state, it's just going to snowball because of their hero power, and they won't have to trade their minions inefficiently, and that can be really bothersome. Mage, you can beat. Mage is a deck that you can just solidly beat with this, because you just get the board and you keep the board as long as you're aggressive about keeping the board. And then once you get to the turns 5 or 6, you get as much damage as you can possible before a Flame Strike, and then you're going to be in excellent shape. Warlock, again, you can beat. Divine Shield does so much work. It is a fantastic... Like, all the Divine Shield cards are amazing. All of the tempo swing cards, like Knife Javeliner, Muster for Battle combos are great versus Zoo. Equality is great versus Handlock. You're going to want to keep all of those key cards in these particular matchups. And if you know how to play against the deck that you're up against, you're going to be in great shape. Warrior... You can also beat, but it's very hard, especially the Patron deck. You have to race them, and you have to take out Armor Smiths and take out like the valuable targets, but spend a lot of time headed for that dome, because their hero power will... If he is effective at clearing out your 1/1s, his hero power is going to snowball a little too hard and put you out of reach. In the mid-range mirror... You also are a little bit too fast for mid-range paladins to deal with. So take advantage of that fact. Aggressively gain the board control. Using cards like Defender Argus, Abusive Sergeant, Blessing of Might to just get a unstoppable board. Bait out Consecration in a situation where you don't lose too much value. And if you think Consecration's coming, go for a value trade and trade your minions. But unless that's the case, then you need to get as much damage in as you can. And make sure that you can push through that window before they slam down a Tyrion or something that just makes the game unwinnable. And that's really the key of this deck, is you need to just get your damage through before they can stabilize, like any aggro deck. And this deck does it very well, and surprisingly effectively. I put it together and I thought I would have to make a lot more changes than I did, but it's been working out. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later this week.